So I joined at the beginning of 1983 at RAF Swinderby. That's where I did my 6 weeks basic. I was in the Air Cadets before then, always wanted to join the Royal Air Force. I used to build model aircraft when I was a kid, hang them from the ceiling, you know. I was very proud. I know my parents were very proud of me, obviously, and my grandparents.
I first joined up in military service in 1981. It made me feel like I was back as a child doing my scouting. Again, when I was a scout as a kid, it's something you enjoyed, you know. It's like an adventure. Why did I join up for the Armed Forces? Since then and now, I think I joined up because I wanted it to be a part of a team, in the fact that what I was doing at the time, at the age I was, there was a lot of unemployment about, and there was lots of football violence about, and I thought, well, you know, you can do all that in controlled places. I didn't think about, oh, you get paid for it. It's the fact that it was my easy way in, because with me, I come from a difficult childhood background in my education. I'd always wanted to be a regular, but I was too frightened to go to the careers office and take some test that they had.
I didn't see any future for me in a civilian sense. I wanted to travel, see the world, and it sounded like the ideal opportunity to do it. There were some really good times that I had. You know, there's probably too many I couldn't mention really. There's that many.
I'd gone to London, so nobody would try and stop me. So nobody knew where I was going, and I went to Albert Dock, and I went to the Royal Navy first, and they filled in the forms, and they said, "Oh, you've got a Queen's Commission." Oh, I said, "Thank you." So I said, where's my ship then? What ship am I going on? And they said, "You're not going on the ship." I said, "Oh, that was the whole idea. I want to go on board ship." So then I went along to the Merchant Navy, and he didn't want me because I was too highly qualified. I said, "Go on, I've made up my mind, I just want to give it a go. I want to see a bit of the world and see how someone else is going to pay for me to do it." As it was, everybody tried to stop me going when they found out.
I think I was just passionate about protecting our country, serving. It's something that I wanted to do. I did think about the police for a while, and then obviously I spent quite a few months on RAF bases, going away on trips with the Air Cadets, and decided that was definitely for me. So that's what I wanted to do. I think I'm the only airman to be sent down to the Falklands by mistake, which is quite an interesting little story. So I was told I was going to do a 4-month deployment of the Falkland Islands, and I was sent to RAF Innsworth to start to get kitted out in Greens, then to Bryce, on to Ascension Island, where we transferred to the Keren, which was going up and down with the Uganda at the time, in 1984. I was on fire picket at the time, just walking around the boat.
I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was everybody's friend and nobody's lover, and I just did my job. I was ever and I didn't disappoint. I did my job to the best of my ability and responded to all the alarms and everything. I just tried to be one of the boys, but I never tried to change the way I was living. I just wanted to get off the ship and see a bit of the world. But many crew people, they go to the first pub, and I wanted to look in the shop windows and see how other people lived. Go and have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. Just enjoy life as the way I could. And as long as I had my knitting, I was okay. I love knitting.
My tours in Ireland were a bit grim at times, because they were the times when there was real civil unrest in Ireland at the time, in the early 70s. Saw things that really were very unpleasant to experience, if you like. I did about 3 tours in various different places over there. I've also served in Cyprus, the Middle East, Germany, lots of other places. My last tour, I think, when I was in as a corporal of horse, having my own troop to worry about, thinking about these are lads that come over here with me. I want to take them all back. There's always civilian casualties, always. And it's not so much with what you do, you personally, it's what you see that causes biggest majority of the trauma. It's not nice getting called out to when a bomb's gone off and you turn up and there's women and kids lying in pieces on the streets that you see. Straight away in your mind it clicks, well, why them? Why should they have suffered? They're just going about their daily business and something like that happens.
Does it still affect your home?
Yeah. I suffer with PTSD. I have some very, very dark moments at times. There are trigger points that cause it. Certain things can happen. It'll trigger me PTSD off. There's certain things I can't do and I have to abstain from. I can't travel on public transport. That's a trigger to me, especially if it's crowded. I will not travel on public transport. Find it very, very difficult to ever go anywhere near there. Or busy shopping centres, especially if they're enclosed. They set me as though I'm back out on patrol and I'm looking for anything and anything that could happen. I feel like being back on patrol again. It's just something I have to learn to deal with.
since it happened that fast, he didn't realise what had gone on. And we found out the fact that this chap actually was working on that farm, because that memory comes back to me in the fact of when it's turned, I took that safety catch off and had to use that weapon to take a life, then that freaks me out, you know.
Oh, Nicaragua. Oh dear. We'd gone through Panama on this lovely chemical tanker, and I wanted to go up the road, and I wanted to get to the telephone exchange to phone home, because I should have gone home. I wanted a woman's voice at the end of the phone, even if it was my mother's, you know what I mean? And gets to the office and gets to this post office, and I knocks on the window, and they're all there on mattresses behind the counter. And I thought, oh, for crying out loud, what time are you opening? But I don't speak Spanish enough to say that. What time? I'm saying to say, and they wouldn't answer me, they were just laughing. I kicked the glass door and walked away. And then these two officers in green came up behind her and said, where are you going? I said, to my ship, all right. Fernandez was 21, and he was worked down in the engine room. And I said, what are they saying, Fernandez? Because he was Portuguese. He was from Cape Verde. He went white, did Fernandez, as these two men were following us to the ship. And then all of a sudden I had the rifle in the back of my neck. I said, when I say go, run to that ship and get help, for goodness sake, will you? So I gave him 1, 2, 3, swung me back right round and hit these two officials and I dragged out my passport at the same time. And I said, I'm British, not American. And walked backwards towards the ship. I'm British, I'm saying it. And it was the crest on my passport. I believed in that. And then I got on board ship, safe and Fernandez had gone. He didn't get help at all. One of the boys had drawn this sketch of me with me plait, and it was funny, and this rifle, and I had to laugh when I saw what they'd done.
A lot of the friends I had before I went into the army, I lost touch with. Definitely impacted my family, my relationship with my wife, although I didn't realise it at the time, and my relationship with my son. What I thought I was doing was the best for him wasn't always, but that's the way I knew being in the forces. After I came out in the early 80s, I thought it was fine. I was coping quite well. I adapted what I thought was quite easily into civilian street. I felt uncomfortable around civilians because my sense of humour didn't fit in with theirs.
I don't think there's any other job in the world that you could do that you could get so close to somebody without being related to them, really. And it's something you take into civilian life as well, you know, because you're looking after one another.
When I finished doing the territorial, I mean, the reason I finished in the first place was I'd met someone, a partner, and wanted to build my life with that partner. Again, it was just a territorial army. You just ended up giving your kit back in and signing your name off, and that's never thought anything more of it then after that.
When you left the forces, did the government help you integrate into civilian life or provide financial help?
No, not at all. I just had my last pay, that was it. I suppose if it wasn't for me still living with the ex for a little while and me finding a job, I don't know what I'd have done, to be fair, but there was no support, no help. So you were just thrown out there and basically left to do your own thing, if you understand what I mean. And it's really hard after you've been in a job that everything's sort of you're told what to do, if you understand what I mean. So I wasn't that good with money, bills and the rest of it. Obviously, the credit rating suffered with that, and my ex-wife did take advantage of that as well. I say the ex-wife did that for a little while, but I had to fend for myself, really. It wasn't good. The accommodation I had was poor, wasn't eating too well. The money wasn't good at first, but you have to work yourself. After the marriage broke up, my mental health wasn't very good, you know.
Thrown out the gate. Once I went through them gates, for years, I never had any contact with them whatsoever, with the forces.
I was sick. Maggie Thatcher had robbed me of my life, and she got rid of the fleet, and I wasn't going on a ship to do a 9-month trip for $40 a month and survive on tips. I couldn't do that. I wanted British employers, and she'd got rid of them all. All the ships were going foreign flag. I had to pay my own tax, my own insurance, and I said, no, this is not secure enough for me. And I was lost in Civvy Street.
When I left the military, or the TA, I never really bothered about Armistice Day and stuff like that. The only time I watched that was on a November. And it's been a long time since I stood at the cenotaph. Someone always said to me, I'd like to be a standard bearer. Some guy from the Royal British Legion came down, which is an instructor, and explained to us, and sort of like going back into your army days, show us how to do the drill, which again, I was quite willing to do and enjoyed it. I still do today, because carrying that standard meant everything to me, and the fact that, and the reason by it, the funerals that we go to or attend, where families have come up and spoke to me and said that's the best thing they've seen for their family. And again, the respect is it's not for the respect, but it's also for the memory of what he's done. I'm getting help with my PTSD through a service called Up Courage, which deals with veterans' PTSD. Obviously, in sight of certain PTSD, lots of traumas, you know, they've come to the fore in the fact that the military side of things. I had a friend of mine that 2 years ago on a Christmas Eve, he'd taken his own life. He was my corporal in my unit. I found out through his family that the reason why he'd taken his life was the fact that he said if he was diagnosed with any terminal illness. So he went away from his family, went to his villa in Spain, where he was found where he slit his wrist, bled to death. I just learned how to be a standard bearer and what to be at his service, and I got talking to his daughter, and she said, are you allowed to do that? And I said, I don't understand what you mean when I'm saying I'd like to do a service for him. He said, well, he's taken his own life. You know, when she was telling me this story, I had to sit down because I was standing while I was talking and my legs gave way. I felt faint because she started telling me the story that he'd taken his own life, you know what I mean? And she'd come from a Catholic background feeling that it was guilty to take his own life, you know what I mean? And I just cried and said, your dad was no coward. He was no coward to take his own life. And again, the PTSD that's come in is the fact that I've lost that guy, and we'll never see him again. But his memory will always be there with me.
I certainly do think they can do a lot more to help veterans by cutting a lot of the red tape that's involved in accessing housing, jobs, and take their own responsibility in looking after the veterans once they've left. It's like you've got to prove yourself all over again to get anywhere once you come out. You've already done that by serving the country. It's because of the system, particularly by the government and the MOD, that put veterans in a corner. When they've applied for social housing or something like that, they've been turned away. or financial help. They've been turned away God knows how many times. And then when they've come back, basically they've forgotten. If they set up a committee, and that committee or body sat down with some of the veterans from all over the country and had some discussions, they would understand more and realise that they need to do better than what they're doing. The British government and the MOD, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably give 2, if that, if they're lucky.
Today we have veterans coming back from conflicts that have even the governments have not been able to solve. Soldiers coming back with trauma. Again, that's the of this government, or any government for that matter. You can't just think, you know, just forget about it. There's certain traumas them people come back with, you know what I mean? And I don't think the governments are prepared or equipped to deal with it half the time.
Well, right now I'm trapped in a cold, damp flat with mould everywhere. And I've not been very well since I had an operation. And I'm hoping to move away from where I can't stand the concrete jungle. That's tower blocks. And I'm trying to get away from where my situation now. Mind you, and I want peace in my life. I want to get away. I want to smell the sea again. I want the wind to blow through the cobwebs away. I want to live again.
There's hardly near to no support at all for veterans from the government at the moment. I can't see that much happening in the future apart from they've decided to give us all an ID card, which I don't know what that's going to do, to be fair. What needs to happen is a support package needs to be put into place for every single veteran that's left the forces, and I think they should be given priority treatment. But in fact, the NHS did sign the Armed Forces Covenant, and veterans are supposed to get priority treatment if they've suffered any injuries or any mental health problems during service. They are supposed to get, but they don't. I've had to bang on desks before for veterans in hospitals where I've taken veterans that are in crisis, remind them that they've signed the Armed Forces Covenant and we need a quiet room for that veteran, and he needs priority care.
When I first come across the Veterans Club and Breakfast Club, it was after my initial getting back into why I was a veteran, I wanted to seek more evidence of what was going on. So I found out where my local Veterans Breakfast Club was. I started meeting up at some certain meetings, and we gelled together, and some of the stories. It's good, lots of things, other things came out of it. So we ended up being a standard bearer.
I could probably say, put it this way, my son wanted to join the army and the wife wouldn't let it happen because she's been with me for 50 odd years. She's seen what I've been through and what it's done to me. She wouldn't allow him to join. He has his ups and downs. Don't get me wrong. There are probably more good times than there are bad times. But it's them bad times that hurt. And you suffer with.
The Veterans Hub has helped me out in respects of where it's brought me to an environment where people I'm meeting people here that I've not met in my life really, and yet they know something about me, such as like, they know I'm a veteran, so they've got an understanding, and we seem to like have an understanding before we've even said anything.
It's helped me out a lot, especially with my mental health. My mental health isn't fantastic. Christine and Olivia that run this place very kindly offered to let us use it on a Thursday as a drop-in for veterans, and we got some volunteers to run the kitchen for us as well. So yeah, that's so about 7 years ago. I've been doing it, supporting other veterans for about 7 years. COVID was a really bad time for a lot of veterans. A lot of veterans took their lives because they couldn't get the support they needed, face-to-face support that they were getting from places like Combat Stress, Help for Heroes. It wasn't there anymore. So there were a lot of cases of veterans just taking their lives because that had come to an end.
No, it wasn't how it made me feel. It was the people, the veterans there. They welcomed me with open arms and I wanted to cry. I will go to a veterans hub because we're not alone when we're together. And that's what is here. We're not alone when we're together.
It's part of my therapy now. I get great pleasure coming here on a Thursday, mixing with other veterans, having a bit of banter, a laugh, a joke, a brew, helping other veterans, try and get them the help that's needed to have a better life than they're living at the moment. I mean, there can't be anything greater than that, because at the end of the day, being part of the forces, that's what you're trained to do, to help people that can't help themselves. So I suppose it's a continuation of that, really, just in a different mode, if you like. And we don't expect anything, because that's the way we've been treated in the past. We beg for every little penny we can get by donations and stuff, you know, and applying for grants here, there and everywhere, which is very difficult if you don't know the grant systems through the lotteries and the local authority grants that you can access. It's as though you've got to jump through hoops, left, right and centre, to meet their approval.
What they should do is support these hubs that we do have for the veterans, because it's the veterans that have come together that are building their confidence back up. And to be recognised by the government, they wouldn't need to spend X amounts of monies, because all they'd have to do is support that hub.
It would be good if there was somewhere that was open for longer hours maybe, or more days a week, but that's all down to financial, and obviously the hub has to rely on whatever they make in the cafe, really, in the NAFI cafe there. So really the government should be opening hubs everywhere, and there should be places where veterans can go if they need support, if they need a brew, if they need a chat to other veterans, they can go and do that. There's nothing like that here. Could do so much more good if we got more funding. I know things have changed since I was in last, but I think the answer, I think if you asked any veteran if they would serve again, I think most of them would say yes.
Would I do it again? Yeah. Probably better than I did in the first place.
Yes and no. Yes, I did, but no, it wasn't for me. I shouldn't have done it, but I did enjoy it.
Why do you say that you shouldn't have done it?
Because I was too highly qualified, and I shouldn't have gone to sea. I should have stayed ashore. But I was as good as the next one to me. I could do what I had to do.
What they teach us to do in the forces, don't leave men behind, bring them back with you, doesn't apply once your time's up in the forces. It's totally the opposite. They don't care. They don't give a damn. They've had the best years of your life. They just don't want to pay for it.